Hello, and welcome to TerraNash. I'm Aiden, your narrator for tonight. Let's take this time together to step away from the rush of the day and ease into a world of dreams and wonder. Whether you've had a long day or just need a moment of calm, I invite you to make yourself comfortable and let go of any tension. Close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath and slowly release it, allowing your mind and body to relax. Let the quiet calm of the night wrap around you, creating a space of peace where you can unwind completely. Tonight, I'll tell you a story, a journey about a young stablehand and a magnificent ancient steed that has the power to soar through the skies. Together, they face unimaginable challenges, powerful forces, and discover the true meaning of freedom. But before we begin, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you listening from? And what time is it as you settle in to hear this story? We'd also love to know what kinds of stories you'd enjoy next. Your thoughts and suggestions inspire us, so please share them in the comments below. If you'd like even more from us, you can check out our Patreon for early access to all our stories and a curated Spotify playlist as well. Now, let's take another moment to relax and settle in. Let your body become heavier with each breath, sinking deeper into the comfort of your space. Feel the warmth and peace around you, and when you're ready, we'll begin the story. Picture the soft rustle of wind through the trees, the quiet hum of the earth beneath you, and a sense of wonder in the air as we venture into tonight's tale. Are you ready? Good. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Stablehand's Secret. The royal stables of Valoria were grander than any other in the kingdom, home to the most majestic flying steeds known to man. These creatures, their wings enhanced by powerful enchantments, were symbols of wealth and status. Only the highest of kings, nobles, and military elites could afford to own them, and it was the duty of stable hands like Elias to care for them. Elias had worked in the stables since he was a boy, shoveling hay, feeding the steeds, and polishing the intricate leather harnesses they wore. Unlike his fellow stable hands, he admired the beasts, not for their grandeur, but for their spirit. While others saw them as mere possessions of the rich, Elias saw creatures longing to be free. One evening, as he finished his chores, he noticed an old wooden door hidden behind stacks of unused saddles and crates. He had never seen it before, and curiosity got the better of him. Pushing aside the debris, he carefully forced it open, revealing a forgotten section of the stables cloaked in dust and cobwebs. The air was thick with the scent of damp wood and something else. Something alive. A faint rustling caught his attention. In the dim light, he saw a small shape huddled in the corner. At first, he thought it was just another sickly foal abandoned by the royal breeders, but as he stepped closer, he realized something was different. The creature had the slender build of a young steed, but its coat shimmered oddly, catching the light like the surface of a river at dawn. Its mane wasn't made of ordinary hair. It had feather-like strands, soft but strong, glowing faintly with a golden hue. Most striking of all were its eyes, deep, intelligent, and filled with fear. Elias crouched slowly, extending a hand. "Easy, boy," he whispered. The foal flinched, but didn't run. Its ribs showed beneath its thin coat. Its breath labored. Someone had left it here, abandoned and starving. His heart clenched. No one would leave a foal here unless they wanted it to be forgotten. But why? A noise from outside made him stiffen. Voices. Fellow stable hands heading back. If they found the foal, they would report it. The king's men would take it away, and Elias had a strong feeling that would mean its death. Making a split-second decision, he pulled off his cloak and draped it over the creature. "Come on, stay quiet," he urged, leading it carefully toward a smaller storage pen where no one ever checked. The foal followed, weak but trusting. Once safely inside, Elias grabbed fresh hay and a bucket of water, watching as the creature hesitated before drinking greedily. As he sat beside it, stroking its strange feathery mane, he felt something stir in his chest, something important. He had no idea what he had just found, but he knew deep down that this foal was unlike anything else in the world. Chapter 2. A breed long forgotten. The next morning, Elias woke before dawn, his mind racing with thoughts of the strange foal he had hidden away. The royal stables were already stirring to life, the other stable hands preparing the enchanted flying steeds for the day's training exercises. Elias moved quickly, carrying a bucket of oats and a few stolen apples as he made his way toward the secluded storage pen where he had hidden the creature. When he slipped inside, the foal was exactly where he had left it, curled up in the hay. But now, in the soft morning light, Elias could see details he had missed the night before. The creature's coat had a faint silver sheen. Its wings, if they could even be called that, were small, underdeveloped, more like extensions of its back than true wings. Its feathered mane gleamed with an almost unnatural luster. The foal lifted its head and regarded him with those sharp, golden eyes. It wasn't just watching him, it was studying him. "You're not like the others, are you?" Elias murmured as he knelt beside it. He reached out a hand, offering an apple. The foal hesitated, then took a cautious bite. As it ate, Elias tried to make sense of what he had found. He had worked in the stables for years, caring for all breeds of flying steeds, from the imperial skychargers to the windstriders favored by the royal scouts. But he had never seen a creature like this. After ensuring the foal was comfortable, Elias did what he always did when he had questions. He sought answers. That night, when the stable hands had retired to their bunks, Elias slipped away to the Great Archive, an ancient stone library within the castle grounds. Most stable hands had little use for books, but Elias had always been different. He had spent years sneaking into the archives, learning about steeds, their history, and their connection to the kingdom. With a lantern in hand, he scoured the dusty shelves for anything on forgotten breeds. After what felt like hours, he stumbled upon a tattered, leather-bound tome, its title nearly worn away. Inside, he found sketches of magnificent creatures, their wings vast and feathered, not magically enhanced, but naturally grown. His breath caught as he read the faded text beneath one of the sketches. Stormwing, a breed of flying steed believed to have vanished over a century ago. Thought to be extinct following the War of the Skies. where their natural abilities posed a threat to the rule of the highborn. A chill ran down Elias's spine. A breed that could fly without enchantments. His mind reeled as he realized the truth. The kingdom's flying steeds, the ones owned by the wealthy, were only able to fly because of magic. But the storm wings, they had never needed such sorcery. That explained why the foal had been hidden away. Someone had known what it was, and someone had wanted it forgotten. By the time Elias returned to the stables, his heart was pounding. He knelt beside the foal, running a hand over its sleek coat. "You're a stormwing," he whispered, feeling a strange sense of awe. "You were never meant to be locked away." The foal nudged his hand, pressing its muzzle against his palm. A name formed in Elias's mind, one that suited a creature born of the winds themselves. "Zephyr," he whispered. "That's what I'll call you." As if accepting the name, the foal gave a soft whinny. Elias smiled. He had found something extraordinary. But deep down, he knew one thing for certain. If the kingdom discovered Zephyr's existence, they would take him away. And Elias would do anything to stop that from happening. Chapter 3. The Rival's Suspicion. Elias worked tirelessly to keep Zephyr a secret. Every morning, before the other stable-hands awoke, he would sneak into the hidden storage pen, bringing fresh water, oats, and fruit. By night, he read old texts in the archives, trying to learn more about the legendary stormwings, a breed thought to be extinct, wiped out by the ruling class to keep flight exclusive to the elite. Zephyr grew stronger each day. His coat became sleek and lustrous, his strange feathered mane soft but firm to the touch. But the most incredible change was in his wings. Though they had started as little more than strange, underdeveloped extensions, they were now growing, feather by feather, revealing a natural beauty unlike anything Elias had ever seen. But secrets, no matter how carefully guarded, have a way of unraveling. Among the stable hands, none were more cunning or cruel than Garrick. Garrick was everything Elias wasn't: ruthless, ambitious, and desperate to rise in the ranks of the royal stables. Unlike Elias, who found joy in caring for the steeds, Garrick saw them as a means to power. He had long resented Elias, always sneering at his love for books and his habit of talking to the horses like they were equals. So when he noticed Elias disappearing more often than usual, slipping away after work, returning with hay-covered clothes and a wary expression, he knew something was off. At first, he thought Elias was sneaking off to steal supplies, or perhaps even planning to flee the castle. But then, one evening, he saw it. A single golden feather caught in Elias's sleeve. Garrick frowned. None of the royal steeds had feathers like that. Their wings were leathery and enchanted, relying on magic rather than nature. His lips curled into a smirk. Elias was hiding something, and whatever it was, Garrick would find out. The next night, Elias slipped into Zephyr's hiding place as usual. He barely had time to greet the young steed before he heard it. Footsteps just outside. His blood turned to ice. Zephyr, sensing his fear, tensed but remained silent. Then a voice, low and taunting. "Elias, I know you're in there." Garrick. Elias's mind raced. He had nowhere to run. If Garrick saw Zephyr, it was over. Thinking fast, he grabbed an old tarp from the corner and threw it over Zephyr, covering his gleaming coat and feathered mane. He pressed himself against the foal, whispering, "Don't move, please." The door creaked open. Garrick stepped inside, his eyes scanning the dimly lit space. "Strange," he mused, stepping closer. "I could have sworn I heard something." Elias forced himself to stay calm. "Just grabbing extra feed. Thought we were running low." Garrick narrowed his eyes, his gaze flickering to the tarp. A slow, knowing smile spread across his face. "You've been sneaking around a lot lately, Elias," he said. "I wonder what the stable master would say if he knew." Elias forced a chuckle. "I work hard, Garrick. Maybe you should try it sometime." Garrick took another step forward, but before he could get too close, a voice called from outside, another stable hand shouting for him. He scowled. "We're not done, Elias." Then he turned and left, shutting the door behind him. Elias let out a shaky breath, collapsing against Zephyr. The foal nudged him gently, as if sensing his relief. That was too close, and he knew Garrick wasn't going to let it go. The next day, Garrick made his way to the castle keep, where Lord Dain, the king's chief advisor, resided. Dain was a ruthless man, second only to the king in power. He controlled the royal fleet of enchanted flying steeds, ensuring that flight remained exclusive to the nobility. He had little patience for foolish rumors, but when Garrick whispered to him about a strange steed hidden in the stables, he listened. "You're certain?" Dain asked, his cold gaze locking onto the stable hand. Garrick smirked. "I haven't seen it yet, but Elias is hiding something. I'll prove it." Dain leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. If what Garrick said was true, if a naturally flying steed had been discovered, then it could change everything. The king's power was built on the fact that only the nobility could take to the skies. If commoners could fly without magic, the kingdom's control would begin to crack. Dain's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "Find it, and when you do, it will belong to the king." Chapter 4. The Stormwing Takes Flight. Elias couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Garrick was watching him. In the days following their close encounter, Elias felt the rival stablehand's eyes on him at every turn. Whenever he slipped away to check on Zephyr, Garrick wasn't far behind, pretending to work, but always lurking, waiting for Elias to make a mistake. Elias knew it was only a matter of time before Garrick uncovered the truth. And when that happened, Zephyr would be taken away. Zephyr was growing stronger, his coat shining with health, his legs no longer frail but sturdy and quick. But it was his wings that fascinated Elias most. Each day, more feathers sprouted, thick and powerful, forming the shape of wings meant for true flight. Not the artificially enhanced, enchanted kind that the royal steeds relied on. But there was one question burning in Elias's mind. Could Zephyr actually fly? No one had seen a stormwing in over a century. The books he had read spoke of their incredible speed, their unmatched agility in the skies, but there were no living witnesses. What if their wings were not strong enough? What if they had lost their power over the generations? He needed to know. And so, one night, under the cover of darkness, Elias led Zephyr beyond the stables, past the training yards, and into the open fields where no one would see them. The moon cast a silver glow over the rolling hills as Elias stopped near a gentle slope. He turned to Zephyr, heart pounding. "All right, boy," he whispered. "Let's see if you were born for the skies." Zephyr flicked his ears, watching Elias with those sharp, intelligent eyes. He seemed to understand. Elias took a deep breath, then gave the signal. "Go." Zephyr kicked off, hooves digging into the earth as he galloped up the slope. His wings spread, catching the wind. Elias held his breath. Then, nothing. Zephyr reached the top of the hill and stopped, his wings fluttering, but unable to lift him. He let out a soft, frustrated whinny. Elias sighed, running a hand through his hair. Maybe it was too soon. Maybe. Then Zephyr did something unexpected. Instead of giving up, he turned back and galloped faster this time. His wings pumped harder, catching more air, and as he reached the crest of the hill, he leapt. For a second, he hovered. Elias's heart leapt into his throat as Zephyr's wings fully extended, the feathers catching the wind naturally. No magic, no enchantments. For one breathtaking moment, Zephyr was airborne. Then gravity won, and he landed on the other side of the hill in a stumble, his wings still too weak to keep him aloft for long. But Elias had seen it. The books were right. Storm wings were real. And given enough time, Zephyr would fly again. Elias rushed to Zephyr's side, grinning as he stroked the young steed's neck. "You did it," he whispered. "You actually did it." Zephyr nudged him, his golden eyes filled with something Elias swore looked like determination. They could practice. They could train. One day, Zephyr would soar through the skies, free and untouchable. But as they made their way back toward the stables, Elias felt the hairs on his neck rise. Someone was watching. His stomach turned to ice. He slowly turned, and his worst fear was confirmed. Garrick stood on the hilltop, smirking. "You really should be more careful, Elias," he sneered. "Secrets have a way of slipping into the wrong hands." Elias's breath caught. He was trapped. Garrick had seen everything, and now Zephyr's life was in danger. Chapter 5. A Race Against Time. Elias's blood turned to ice as he locked eyes with Garrick, who stood smugly atop the hill, silhouetted against the moonlit sky. The rival stablehand had seen everything. Zephyr's attempt at flight, his wings, his potential. And that meant only one thing. The secret was no longer safe. Garrick descended the hill at a leisurely pace, his smirk never fading. "Well, well," he drawled. "I thought you were just sneaking extra rations, but this?" He gestured towards Zephyr, whose ears flattened at the stranger's presence. "This is something else entirely." Elias stepped protectively between Zephyr and Garrick, fists clenched. "He's just a horse." Garrick let out a sharp laugh. "Don't insult my intelligence, Elias. That's no ordinary steed." He circled them like a predator, his eyes gleaming with opportunity. "A naturally flying horse. The nobles would kill for this. And the king?" He whistled low. "He'd have you executed just for hiding it." Elias's breath hitched, but he held firm. "What do you want?" Garrick tapped his chin, as if considering. "Well, I could report this right now. I'd be rewarded handsomely." He grinned. "But I'm a fair man, so here's the deal. I take credit for discovering the beast. You step aside. Maybe I'll even put in a good word for you." Elias's heart pounded. If Zephyr fell into Garrick's hands, it wouldn't just be the stablehand benefiting. It would mean Zephyr being turned into a prize, locked away, possibly experimented on, used as a weapon. "I won't let that happen," Elias said through gritted teeth. Garrick's smirk faded. "Then you've just made a very dangerous enemy." Garrick lunged for Zephyr's halter, but Elias was faster. He grabbed Zephyr's mane and vaulted onto his back, something he had never dared to do before. Zephyr startled, his muscles tensing beneath Elias, but somehow he didn't buck him off. "Run!" Elias shouted. Zephyr bolted. Garrick cursed and tried to grab them, but Zephyr was too quick, his hooves kicking up dust as he tore across the field. Elias clung to his back, wind whipping against his face. The young steed moved with a grace beyond any normal horse, as if his body was already half airborne. Behind them, Garrick shouted for the guards. Alarms would be raised soon. Elias's mind raced. He couldn't return to the stables, not with Garrick spreading the word. He needed to get Zephyr far away before the king's men came searching. He guided Zephyr toward the forest beyond the training fields, their only chance of hiding. The moment they reached the tree line, Elias heard the distant clang of bells. The hunt had begun. The underbrush was thick, branches whipping against Elias's arms as Zephyr darted between the trees. The steed's breathing was steady, but Elias could feel the tension in his muscles. They couldn't keep running forever. Behind them, torches flickered in the darkness. The guards were coming. Elias's grip tightened. "Come on, Zephyr. I know you can do this." And then, something changed. Zephyr's ears pricked forward. His muscles shifted beneath Elias in a way he had never felt before, like a coiled spring about to release. Then, suddenly, Zephyr leapt. And this time, he didn't come back down. Elias's stomach lurched as Zephyr's wings unfurled completely, catching the wind, lifting them higher, higher than any magic-infused steed he had ever seen. They were flying. For the first time in over a century, a stormwing soared through the skies of Valoria. And as Elias looked down at the torchlit search party below, a wild, breathless laugh escaped his lips. They were free. For now, Chapter 6, the sky is ours. The night air rushed past Elias's face, cold and sharp, as Zephyr soared higher and higher, his golden feathers shimmering under the pale moonlight. Elias barely dared to breathe. They were flying. Not in the way of the king's enchanted steeds, who needed their riders to command them through magic, but truly, naturally soaring, as if Zephyr had been born for this moment. Below them, the torches of the search party flickered like scattered stars. The guards, Lord Dain, and even Garrick stood in stunned silence as they watched the impossible unfold. A steed without enchantment, without the king's approval, had taken to the skies, and Elias was the one riding him. The wind roared in Elias's ears as Zephyr's wings caught the currents, lifting them higher. He clung to the steed's mane, heart hammering, equal parts exhilarated and terrified. "This is real," he whispered. "We're really doing it." Zephyr let out a triumphant whinny, banking to the left, his movements instinctual. Elias, though untrained, could feel the natural rhythm of Zephyr's wings. Unlike the royal steeds, who were bred to follow precise magical commands, Zephyr responded to subtle shifts in Elias's weight, as if they were moving as one. Then, a sharp gust of wind hit them. Zephyr wobbled. Elias's stomach dropped as they dipped suddenly, the ground rushing toward them. Panic flared in his chest. "Steady, boy! Steady!" Zephyr flapped his wings hard, struggling against the wind. He wasn't used to carrying a rider, wasn't used to this kind of pressure. Elias knew they couldn't keep flying blindly. They needed a place to land, somewhere safe, somewhere hidden. His eyes scanned the terrain below. Beyond the castle walls and the sprawling fields, the Mistcliff ravine stretched like a dark scar through the land. The ravine was rumored to be a place of mystery, a land untouched by nobles, a place where no one would look for them. Elias made his choice. He leaned forward, pressing gently against Zephyr's neck. "There. Take us there." Zephyr responded instantly, angling downward, his wings adjusting with newfound confidence. The ravine loomed ahead, deep, treacherous, but filled with caves and thick mist that could keep them hidden. Behind them, the castle bells rang out, a sign that the king's men were officially in pursuit. But by the time they reached the ravine's edge, Elias and Zephyr had disappeared into the fog. Back at the castle, Lord Dain stood rigid as he watched the impossible scene unfold. Beside him, Garrick was pale-faced, unable to process what he had just witnessed. "A natural-born flyer," Dain murmured, his voice dangerously quiet. "After all these years, the bloodline still exists." Garrick swallowed hard. "Should I tell the king?" Dain's expression was unreadable. The king could not know about this. If word got out that a naturally flying steed had returned, it could undermine everything: the nobility's control, the kingdom's balance of power. Dain turned, his cloak billowing behind him. "No, not yet." Garrick blinked. "But..." Dain shot him a look so cold that it froze Garrick in place. "That steed will belong to us, not the king." He motioned to his guards. "Send our best trackers. Find them before someone else does." Garrick hesitated. "And Elias?" Dain smirked. "Kill him if necessary, but bring the steed back alive." Elias barely had time to process what had happened before they landed deep within the ravine. Zephyr touched down awkwardly, his legs trembling slightly, his breath coming in sharp bursts. Elias slid off his back, heart still pounding. He placed a hand against Zephyr's heaving side. "You did it," he whispered. "You really did it." Zephyr let out a soft, tired nicker, nudging Elias gently. They had escaped, but Elias knew it was far from over. Somewhere out there, the hunt had already begun. And if he wanted to keep Zephyr safe, he had to figure out why the world had erased the Stormwings in the first place. Because if someone had gone to such great lengths to wipe them out before, they would surely try again. Chapter 7. The Secrets of the Stormwings. The Mistcliff Ravine was a world apart from the kingdom Elias had always known. A deep, shrouded canyon veiled in swirling fog. It stretched endlessly into the unknown, untouched by nobles, untouched by law. Zephyr's hooves crunched against the rocky ground as they moved cautiously through the mist. Elias placed a reassuring hand on the steed's neck. They had escaped, but they were not safe. The king's men would be searching for them. Lord Dain would not give up easily. And if Elias had learned anything about the world, it was that secrets, especially ones this powerful, never stayed hidden for long. Zephyr flicked his ears, muscles tensing. Elias felt it too. They were not alone. A shadow moved through the mist. A figure. Elias reached for the small dagger at his belt, ready to defend Zephyr if he had to. "Who's there?" he called. A deep, weathered voice echoed back. "A question best asked of yourself, boy." The mist shifted, and an old man stepped into view. His robes were tattered, his silver hair wild, but his eyes, sharp, knowing, filled with something ancient, pierced through Elias, as if they could see his very thoughts. Zephyr did not shy away. He recognized this man. Elias hesitated. "Who are you?" The old man tilted his head. "The better question is, do you know what you are riding?" Elias's grip on Zephyr's mane tightened. "I know exactly what he is." The old man's expression darkened. "No. You know what the books told you. You know the myths, but you do not know the truth." Elias swallowed. "Then tell me." The old man regarded him for a long moment. Then finally, he spoke. "Long ago, the skies belonged to the Stormwings," the old man began. "They were not steeds for kings. They were free, a breed unlike any other, creatures of the wind itself." Elias listened intently, every word feeling heavier than the last. But the rulers of the land could not accept what they could not control. The nobility feared them, feared that no man could ever truly tame the skies as long as the Stormwings lived. So they did what all men do when they fear something too great. The old man's eyes burned. They destroyed them. Elias's breath caught. But why? The Stormwings did not bow. They would not be bridled nor harnessed for war. The king's enchanted steeds were weak copies of what these creatures were born to be. The old man gestured to Zephyr. So the rulers waged a war against them, a silent war, a war of whispers and poisons, of hunters and betrayal. And in time, the world forgot them. Elias felt his stomach twist. The king's bloodline had wiped them out. They thought they had erased every last one, the old man murmured, but they were wrong. His gaze settled on Zephyr. And now, they will come to finish what they started. A sudden, distant horn blast shattered the silence. Elias's blood ran cold. The king's men. They had found the ravine. Zephyr pawed the ground, his ears flicking back. He sensed danger. The old man stepped forward, his voice urgent. "You cannot outrun them forever, boy, but you can fight back." Elias turned to him. "How?" "The storm wings were never just creatures of the sky," the old man said. "They were creatures of storm and wind. And this one," he placed a hand on Zephyr's muzzle, "is the last heir to that power." Elias's heart pounded. Magic, not the controlled spells of the nobles, but something older, wilder. The old man met his gaze. "If you want to save him, you must awaken what sleeps inside him." Elias barely had time to react before another horn blast rang out, closer this time. The king's hunters had entered the ravine, and this time, they were coming for blood. Chapter 8. The Awakening of the Storm. The sharp blast of the hunting horn echoed through the ravine, bouncing off the jagged cliffs like a death knell. Elias tightened his grip on Zephyr's mane. The king's men were closing in. The old man, the last keeper of the Stormwing's legacy, remained calm. "They will be upon us soon." His piercing gaze met Elias. "You must decide now. Run or awaken the storm." Elias's breath came fast. His mind screamed to run, but something in his chest, some deep, unshakable instinct, told him that running wasn't enough anymore. If they ran, they would be hunted. If they fought, they might survive. Elias turned to the old man. "Tell me what to do." The elder nodded. "Then listen carefully, boy. The blood of the storm flows in his veins, but it has lain dormant for too long." He placed a firm hand on Zephyr's forehead. "You must wake it." Elias frowned. "But how?" The old man exhaled. "The bond between steed and rider is more than just trust. It is a connection of will, of purpose." He looked at Elias with sudden intensity. "You must command him, not with your voice, but with your soul. Show him that he is more than a hunted beast. Remind him that he is a king of the sky." Another horn blast. Closer now. Elias swallowed hard. He turned to Zephyr, the steed's golden eyes reflecting the fear and fire inside his own. He pressed a hand against Zephyr's neck. "You hear that?" he whispered. "They want to take you, to break you." His voice grew steadier. "But I know what you are, Zephyr, and I know that no chains can hold you, no cage can keep you. You are free. You are the storm." Zephyr's ears flicked forward. Something changed. A low, almost imperceptible rumble vibrated through the ground. Then the wind began to shift. The mist in the ravine thickened, swirling unnaturally, coiling like living tendrils around Zephyr's hooves. His golden coat began to crackle, tiny sparks of electricity dancing along his mane. Elias's breath caught. The old man watched with satisfaction. "Good," he murmured. "He is listening." A sudden shout rang through the fog. "Over here! I see them!" The first of the hunters emerged from the mist, clad in dark armor, their hands gripping crossbows and spears. "Get the steed!" One barked. The old man turned sharply. No more time. He looked at Elias. Now, boy, command him. Elias didn't hesitate. He swung himself onto Zephyr's back, gripping the steed's mane as the storm beneath his skin thrummed. The hunters raised their weapons. Now, Zephyr. The moment the words left Elias's lips, the air exploded. A deafening boom of thunder shook the ravine. The mist surged outward in a violent gale, knocking the hunters off their feet. The sky above them churned as black storm clouds began to swirl out of nowhere. And then, Zephyr reared up, his wings unfurling wide. Electricity crackled down his legs, sparking through his hooves. He let out a piercing, wild cry, one that no earthly steed should have been able to make. The hunters scrambled back, faces twisted in terror. What in the god's name? But before they could react, Zephyr took off. The force of Zephyr's wings sent dust and wind blasting through the canyon, shaking loose rocks and sending the hunters diving for cover. And then, they were soaring, not just flying, commanding the sky. Elias clung to Zephyr as they streaked upward, higher than they ever had before. The storm raged around them, the wind no longer a force against them, but a force with them. For the first time, Elias realized the truth. Zephyr was not just a flying steed. He was a force of nature itself, the last true stormwing. And as they disappeared into the rolling clouds, the desperate shouts of the hunters fading below, Elias knew everything had changed. Chapter 9. The Wrath of the Sky. The storm howled around them, whipping at Elias's cloak as Zephyr surged higher into the heavens. Lightning crackled along his wings, illuminating the darkness in flashes of silver and gold. The air was alive, charged with energy so raw and untamed that it sent shivers down Elias's spine. He clung to Zephyr's mane, his mind racing. They had done it. They had awakened the storm. But below them, the king's men were already regrouping. Through the gaps in the storm, Elias could see them. Tiny figures, scrambling, shouting orders. Their enchanted steeds struggling against the violent winds that Zephyr had summoned. The king's hunters had never faced anything like this before. But then, a dark banner rose among them. A new figure entered the battlefield. A lone rider emerged from the ranks, clad in midnight black armor that seemed to drink in the light. His helmet was adorned with the insignia of the king's elite, and at his side, an ornate silver spear gleamed with magic. Elias's stomach twisted. The Stormbreaker, Lord Dain's personal enforcer, a hunter of legendary skill. The only man to have ever slain a flying steed mid-air. Even Zephyr felt it. The shift in the air, the weight of the danger below. He let out a sharp whinny, wings faltering slightly. Elias gritted his teeth. No, boy, we don't stop. Not for him. But the Stormbreaker raised his hand, and his own steed, a monstrous, magically enhanced creature with iron-plated wings, took to the sky in pursuit. The hunt was not over. Zephyr streaked through the sky, wind and storm at his command. But the Stormbreaker was fast, too fast. His enchanted steed was built for war, not freedom, and it pursued them relentlessly, cutting through the raging storm like a dagger. Elias could feel it. The tension in the air, the weight of the battle that was about to unfold. The Stormbreaker raised his silver spear. Lightning danced along its tip. Elias's heart pounded. If they were caught, it was over. If Zephyr was captured, he would be broken, just like the Stormwings before him. No, not again. Not this time. Zephyr banked sharply, his instincts guiding them through the storm. But the Stormbreaker followed. The first strike came fast. A bolt of enchanted lightning hurled straight at them. Zephyr dodged at the last second, the blast of energy searing past Elias's shoulder. The heat of it was enough to make his skin sting. The Stormbreaker's voice rang out, calm, calculating. "Surrender the beast, stablehand. You don't understand what you're riding." Elias gritted his teeth. "Neither do you." Another strike. Another dodge. But they couldn't keep running forever. Elias knew what had to be done. If Zephyr was truly the last Stormwing, if he had truly awakened his power, then it was time to stop running. Time to fight. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead to Zephyr's mane. "It's us or him, boy. You know what to do." Zephyr let out a thunderous cry, and the storm answered. The clouds thickened. The wind howled. Lightning gathered around Zephyr's wings, crackling like a living force. Elias could feel it. The power, the rage, the memory of every Stormwing that had been hunted before. This was not just a battle. This was justice. The Stormbreaker charged, his spear crackling with deadly energy. Zephyr dove straight for him. The sky exploded. A blinding flash of light and fury. A collision of power so great that the very heavens seemed to shake. And when the storm finally cleared, when the winds died down just enough for Elias to see, the Stormbreaker's steed was falling, spiraling out of control. And the Stormbreaker himself, his spear shattered, his armor scorched by lightning, he barely clung to his saddle as his steed plunged toward the earth. Zephyr let out one final, defiant cry, and Elias knew they had won. The king's greatest hunter had been defeated, and now the skies belonged to the storm once more. On to Chapter 10. The Dawn of a New Era. The storm began to quiet. The furious winds that had ripped through the sky moments before now shifted into a gentle breeze. The clouds, once dark and menacing, began to part, revealing the pale light of dawn breaking over the horizon. Zephyr flew higher, his wings no longer heavy with the weight of battle, but strong and free, the storm settling into a peaceful calm. Elias could feel the shift within himself, too. The adrenaline fading, replaced by the profound silence that came after victory. Below, the broken form of the Stormbreaker's steed lay scattered on the ground, still smoking from the electrifying charge that had sent it plummeting. The Stormbreaker himself was nowhere to be seen, perhaps lost in the ravine, or perhaps he had managed to escape. But for the moment, it didn't matter. The king's enforcer had been defeated. The hunters were scattered, their morale shattered. Without their leader, they would be unable to pursue. The warriors who had once been so confident in their pursuit of Zephyr now saw the true might of the creature they had sought to capture, and they knew they had no hope of defeating him. Elias leaned forward, his hand resting against Zephyr's neck, feeling the steed's pulse steady beneath him. "We did it," he whispered, more to himself than to the creature beneath him. "We really did it." The air was crisp, the sky clear. The storm had passed, and for the first time in Elias's life, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. There were no more hunters, no more hiding. But even as he allowed himself this moment of relief, he knew the battle was not yet over. The kingdom had seen the power Zephyr held, and there would be others who would seek to claim him for themselves. The bloodline of the Stormwings had been hidden for generations, but it was no longer a secret. And when power like this was revealed to the world, those who would exploit it would not rest. Yet, for the first time, Elias wasn't afraid. They had won today. Elias looked out over the ravine. Beyond the mist, the world awaited. Zephyr was not just a steed. He was a force, a creature of the sky, of storms and wind, and together they could change the world. "Where will we go now?" Elias asked softly, though he knew Zephyr could not answer in words. But Zephyr's golden eyes met his with a calm certainty, and Elias understood. They would go wherever they were needed, to the places that still needed to be free, to those who still feared the darkness that kings like Lord Dain would bring. They would go to the places where hope had faded and bring the storm of change with them. As they flew through the open sky, Elias couldn't help but reflect on everything that had brought him here. He had been a stablehand, the lowest of the low in the eyes of the nobles. He had known the world from the bottom up, had seen the cruelty of kings and lords who wielded power without understanding. But now, with Zephyr at his side, he knew that the true power of the world was not in the hands of kings or armies. It was in the freedom of the wind, in the strength of those who dared to challenge the status quo. And Zephyr, the last Stormwing, was the symbol of that challenge. The old man's words echoed in Elias's mind. "You are not just a rider. You are the one who will restore what was lost." Zephyr's wings cut through the clouds as they ascended higher toward the rising sun. They were no longer fugitives. They were free, and the world had no choice but to notice. The sky stretched out before them, endless and full of possibility. And Elias realized this was only the beginning. As the sun broke over the horizon, bathing them in its golden light, Elias whispered once more, "We're just getting started." And together they soared into the unknown, into the future, as the storm began to sweep across the land, and the world would never be the same again.